Karibu sana, this is Kshs Kumekucha, and this is the report for 14th September 2018. And we start with something very sad. The baby of Sharon Otieno was finally laid to rest today. At least what was left of her. And this was done at the home of the mother, where she stays with her parents. The baby was supposed to have been buried yesterday, Thursday, but the family complained of cash constraints. The county of Homa Bay promised to chip in, and asked them to postpone this burial. May the soul of this innocent child rest in peace, na wacha Mungu afanye kazi yake. On other news, a bus headed to Garissa was hijacked by Al-Shabaab terrorists, who executed 2 people in that bus. This happened at around 11 a.m. in the morning, and they followed the usual procedure. They flagged down the bus, asked everybody to get off, and they singled out 3 persons who did not look like they were Muslim. The 3 were asked to recite the Muslim Shahada and 7 verses from the Surah Al-Fatiha, and only one of the 3 managed to. The other 2 had no idea, and their hands were tied behind them, and they were shot. Dead. The bus was hijacked at a place called Handaro. Now, what puzzles me is why somebody would want to name their bus Killers. As you can see the ill-fated bus on your screens right now. Anyway, let's move on to something less tragic. Now, if I told you that there's somebody being widely recognized as the most beautiful woman in the world, what would you start thinking about? A fair-skinned person, of course. This is rather, indeed this is tragic. I said I'll get away from tragic stories, but this is tragic in another way, because we are the products of massive propaganda and brainwashing from the West. Very many people, too many Africans, think that black is ugly and fair-skinned, as white as possible, is beautiful. Well, I'm going to shock you today, because the lass who's widely considered as the most beautiful woman in the world is actually as black as they come. She was born in Egypt, but she's of South Sudanese descent. Her name is Anok Yai. Her parents moved to the US when she was only 2 years old, and currently she's a student at the University of Hampshire. And guess what she's doing? She's doing biochemistry. That's very nice. That's one of the things I love about beautiful African women. Most of them have something between their ears. They're smart. If you've traveled the world a little, you'll realize that most very beautiful women are not very smart. And that's a fact. Now, of course, in producing this report, I know that I'm fighting a battle that I can never win. It is a mission impossible, but I will try anyway. And of course, that mission impossible is to convince Kenyans that black is beautiful. I'm so glad that Anok Yai is not Kenyan. Because had she been a Kenyan, I am very sure by now she'd have bleached herself paper white. I kid you not. Folks, weupe sio urembo. Being white does not mean you're beautiful. Black, according to me, is the most beautiful. And you can bet I put my mouth where my money is. I am sure you know what I mean. Let me just leave it at that. And let's move on to the 2 serious issues we're going to tackle today. President Uhuru Kenyatta, after quite a number of days of silence, has finally broken his silence. He, of course, started by rejecting the finance bill, the finance bill passed by Parliament, which was supposed to postpone the 16% VAT on fuel products. What that means is that fuel prices will not come down as Kenyans were widely expecting. Now, in sending the rejected bill back to Parliament, the President has proposed that the tax be cut from 16% to 8%. That is, the tax remains, but it's cut down by 50% to 8% instead of 16%. Now already, temperatures are rising rapidly around this issue, and I shall come back to that in a minute. The other story is the issue of sponsors, as we call them in Kenya. Yeah, this is where young girls find an older man, yeah, who's got a lot of money to splash around, usually a married man, yeah, and they use this to make money, to change their financial status. Now, this one is a rather hot topic at the moment because of the controversial Sharon Otieno saga. The late Sharon Otieno's sponsor was, of course, the Migori governor, His Excellency Okoth Obado. And something went very wrong with that relationship, and now Sharon Otieno is dead. Yeah. Pregnant Sharon Otieno is no more. But let's start with the fuel issue first. Now already, quite a number of legislators have come out and said even that 8% they don't want. Yeah. What they've said is that we want zero tax on fuel products. And they have said this is because fuel products affects the poor and the vulnerable, because it usually ends up affecting the prices of basics, in fact, virtually all products and services. And it is the poorer members of society, the vast majority, who suffer most. Now, there's something here very significant that has happened that I want to draw your attention to. Since the handshake between Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta, the vast majority of parliamentarians have been supporting the president and Raila Odinga. Yeah, they have been firmly behind the handshake. But this is the first time that people seem to forget that there's a handshake. And we are hearing members of the opposition saying, no, yeah, we shall not accept what the president is proposing. And even more interesting, quite a number of legislators on the Jubilee side are also saying no. Let me also remind you that all these manenos started when the legislators rejected proposals from the executive, because the 16% VAT was one of the proposals brought from the executive to finance government. It was part of the budget read in parliament. And legislators right across party lines said no. And that's why they passed the finance bill, postponing the implementation of this 16% VAT for another 2 years. And of course, they were being cheered on by the long-suffering people of Kenya. Now, in my view, this is an extremely dangerous development. Why do I say that? Now, let me start by telling you a story. We once had a chat with my political lecturer during Moi days. And at the time we were having this chat, Moi was facing very serious problems, because the IMF had just come in. The Kenya shilling had been liberalized. Before that, the government set the exchange rate. They decided how much the Kenya shilling would exchange to foreign currency. And now the Kenya shilling, for the first time, was put out there for market forces to decide its true value. This, of course, was very, very scary. People didn't know what would happen, and many people predicted doom, that actually the shilling would fall like a stone in value. Anyway, the long and short of it, at the time we're having this chat, Kenyans were experiencing real pain, as far as the economy was concerned. Prices of products were going up all the time, basics, and things were not good in Kenya. And of course, at the time, myself and even my political lecturer, we just wanted Moi to go as soon as possible. And I made a sweeping statement. Those days I was young and reckless. So I made a sweeping statement in front of my political lecturer. And I told him, now that the economy has gone south, Moi is finished. It is just a matter of time and he'll pack his bags and go back to Kabarak. And my political lecturer responded the way he usually did. He said, rubbish. And he posed for effect. He lit his cigarette and kept me in suspense. I had to wait to find out what he meant. And he told me the following. Moi is smart. He's just going to make sure that he takes care of the vulnerable, the vast majority of Kenyans. He's going to make sure that prices of basics are kept under control. Lots of money is going to be spent on relief food. And his prediction was spot on, because a few weeks after that, something very interesting happened. The chief executive of East African Industries then, this was a major company in Kenya that handled a lot of basics, was fired. I think it was called a Mr. Wanjui or something. Very, very competent person. And his firing came from State House. Now, this was very strange because this was a privately held company. This was a foreign company operating in Kenya. And yet the firing of the chief executive was instigated by State House. Why? Because he had announced some price increases in a few basic products, I think including things like Blue Band, cooking fat Kimbo, stuff like that. There were whispers that the president at that time, Moi, had told East African industry, the foreign investors, that if this man does not go, then just pack up the whole company and leave. And of course, the price increase was cancelled. East African industries were forced to look for another way to make a profit. And indeed, somebody was telling me the other day, that was the beginning of many of their problems. The company never really recovered from that time when they were limping along with the Kenyan economy. And this is the time other local investors, of course politically connected, came into the market and started producing these products that were the preserve of foreign companies, things like detergent. In those days it was only Omo, but later on now we started having other brands like Toss, Persil, etc., etc. And there was a lot of distribution of relief food. The long and short of what I'm saying is that Moi took the common man very, very seriously. Increasing the prices of certain products that affected the common man was a matter of national security, literally. And on your screens now, you can see the quote from my political lecturer. That's why I'm saying this is a dangerous situation. Because when common people are affected, the political consequences can be mind-boggling. You see, a hungry man, a starving man, a person who has not eaten, is not reasonable. And in my view, that is the very dangerous situation the country is headed to, with this increase in fuel prices. Of course, some of us who are very comfortable in the middle class, some of us who don't know how people live in the slums, some of us who do not know how the vast majority of Kenyans live, will take this lightly. They don't think it is serious. Yes, times are hard, but you're surviving. And you assume everybody's surviving. Oh, no, it's not like that. There are a lot of other Kenyans who are not. In other words, what I'm saying, pressure from the common man is what is causing some of these parliamentarians to speak the way they're speaking. They are well aware of the fact that their political future may hang on what they say concerning this increase in fuel prices. And to make matters even more dangerous, the middle class have joined in complaining and saying no, although for different reasons. In fact, let me put it very clearly like this. The vast majority of Kenyans are hungry with an H. And the middle class are angry. They're upset. Angry with an A. And why are they angry? They're angry because they know we have gotten to where we have gotten because of corruption. And that is where you begin to hear some very scary things from the middle class. Ideas like they want to blockade roads, cause a traffic jam, park their cars in the middle of the highway and go away in protest of the increase of fuel prices. Folks, this is a very, very dangerous development, very delicate thing that our leaders need to handle extremely delicately. If they don't, this is something that could very easily spiral out of control. Now we'll go for a brief commercial break. When we come back, we'll deal with sponsors, and I have something very, very surprising to tell you that I'm sure you do not expect. Don't go away. Now, Kenyans have been talking a lot about sponsors in recent times, and a lot of the blame has been going towards our young girls. Yeah, our young girls who are getting involved with married people, getting involved with older people with the sole aim of making money. And nobody has mentioned a major culprit in many of these instances, who has caused this national disaster in our country of young women looking for sponsors, even at the risk of their very lives, like in the case of Sharon Otieno. And this culprit, unmentioned so far, are mothers, or the mother of the girl, who is operating with a sponsor. Sometimes it is both parents, but in most cases it is the mother. Now I'm going to give you a true story of a person I know very well, which will illustrate this perfectly. I shall of course not tell you their name, but trust me, this happened. Indeed, this story is so mind-boggling, it shocked me so much, that if I had not heard it and even seen it, in this person I know very well, I would have said this is fiction. Now, this friend of mine is one of those very lucky guys who look much younger than they really are, because he can easily pass for late 30s, but actually is in his late 50s. And he met with this girl, and he had just come out of a very ugly divorce, but he was still taking care of his children from his first marriage. And this young girl didn't even know his true age. They just hit it off, genuine, because anyway, this guy doesn't even have money. And you know my weakness. Sometimes I can't resist giving advice even when it's not required. So in one of our conversations in these early days of this relationship, I advised my friend that aren't you worried about the age difference? Because the age difference between them was over 20 years. And I even advised him to read articles on the internet concerning how this kind of relationships with huge age differences, how they usually end up. And that's when he opened up. He told me one of the reasons why I had fallen in love with this young girl is because she was very mature. She had gone through a lot in her life. And he was right, because when I finally met the young lass, I could agree. She was very mature. And I started feeling more than a little stupid for offering my unsolicited advice. And the man went to visit the parents. And he came back very, very happy. It had gone very well. And he said the girl's mother had liked him very much. Later, we were to discover the reason why they hit it off so much, on the first, love at first sight with the mother-in-law, was because of his dressing. He had worn a very nice suit going up country. And this had given the girl's mother the impression that this man is very wealthy. He has a lot of money. And immediately after that visit, he ran into some serious problems. His mother-in-law would call every week, asking for money. He literally became an ATM for the mother of his wife, his new wife. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not bad to help out with the in-laws, especially if they come from, a very poor background. There's nothing wrong with that. But believe me, this was excessive. Now, after a short time, a bombshell was dropped. He was summoned up country, and the father of this girl demanded that he pay dowry immediately, or at least 50% of it immediately. Now, as we came to find out later, the father was really following instructions from guess who? The mother of the girl. Now, my friend explained that he had a lot of financial obligations, and he begged them to give them a bit of time. And the father of the girl told him, wait, let us discuss with your mother. And they went aside and discussed in whispers. Actually, what was happening, he was just receiving instructions. There was no discussion going on. He was receiving instructions from the boss of that situation. And he came back and he told the man that even if he has no money, then at least he should be able to come up with 60,000 Kenya shillings. Now, of course, in such a situation, you don't continue the argument. You don't tell your in-laws no. So he said he'll work on it. And he came back with his wife, and he thought the whole maneno would cool off. About 2 months later, he received a call from his mother-in-law. Now, this mother-in-law is quite a piece of work. You shall find out why in a minute. Now, she was very nice on the phone. She started by greeting him, asking him how he was getting on. and how their small child was getting on. Yeah, by this time they had a toddler who was about 6-7 months old. His wife had of course gotten pregnant before he had met her parents. And then the mother-in-law got to business. She said that somebody had died up country, and it was very important for her daughter to attend the funeral of that person because that person was very close to them as a family. So she was politely asking for his permission. And my friend did not sense any mischief, and he accepted gladly. And she went up country, and she was supposed to return after 3 days. A week passed, 2 weeks passed, she was still not back. He would of course talk to his wife on phone, and she would tell him that there was something she was waiting from her parents. Her parents were going to release her soon. And because he had a debt, he kept his cool. You know, when you owe people money, especially in-laws, you take it easy. But finally it was too much. And on one telephone conversation, the mother-in-law snatched the phone, I kid you not. And she told the man on his face that they had decided he was not a good husband. He was not capable of being the best husband for their daughter. Of course, she didn't mention the money, but it was obvious what this was all about. But there was some more horrors to follow. Yeah, there was some information the man did not know at the time. What had actually happened the first time when the wife left, she had taken the small toddler straight to her parents. And she had another sister, in fact a younger sister, who was married to a sponsor. And her parents had ordered her to go and live with her younger sister. And the whole purpose was that her younger sister, and I kid you not, was organizing for this bibi wenyewe to be married by a rich Asian, a proper sponsor, somebody with proper money. Now something terribly went wrong with that arrangement, yeah, and it didn't work out. But all this time, this guy's mother-in-law was putting pressure on her younger daughter to organize a proper sponsor for her elder sister. Now, you know, there's some girls, yeah, including this man's wife, who are very respectful of their parents, and they don't know how to tell their parents no. To cut a very long story short, this couple are still together. Barely. It's just God who has kept them together. But the horror stories I can tell you of that mother-in-law can fill maybe 5 videos. Now, if somebody who I did not know very well told me this story, I would just write it off. I would just laugh them off. I would say this is pure fiction. But in this case, I've not only been told, but I've witnessed with my own eyes. I've overheard conversations on the phone, phones put on speaker so that I hear for myself. I've seen text messages. I've even seen pictures of this rich Asian who was supposed to marry this young girl, somebody's wife. How is it possible that the mother, yeah, of a daughter can value more money than the life and happiness of their child? How is that possible? Let's not even get tribal in the comments area, yeah, because people may want to refer to the House of Mumbi brothers and sisters we have on this channel. But I'll tell you categorically, this did not involve them. These are Kambas from Ukambani. So the issue of tribe does not arise. It's just a question of loving money more than you love your own daughter. So I just thought you should know that I'm not saying all these girls who are behaving badly have their mothers to blame. No. But I'm saying, just think about it. A vast majority of them are getting pressure from their parents, pressure from their mothers, and some are even being encouraged. Oh gosh, what is our world coming to? Until next time, this is Kshs, Kumekucha.